I have been covering a variety of ETFs for maximizing dividend income or maximizing growth, but with an emphasis on hidden gems that are yet to be discovered by majority of investors. Now, most investors build the core of their portfolio around something like SPY or VOO. However, as an income investor, your goal is to extract income from your portfolio, so simple index exposure may not be ideal. That is why there has been such a strong movement towards high-income ETFs to replace basic index exposure like the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. But there are two problems. First, high-income alternatives cap your growth potential. These funds typically use a covered call strategy, which caps your upside in exchange for income. And you can see this with prominent high-income funds on the S&P 500. Like SPYI, which has captured 30% less in total returns than the S&P 500. And when compounded over many years, that could translate to millions of dollars over a 20 to 30 year period. The second problem is taxes. If the majority of the returns you're getting from a fund come through option-derived dividends, a large portion will be taken away by taxes, unless the fund is structured in a tax-efficient way, which I'll talk about more in just a second. So that is why there has been such a strong movement towards finding high-income ETFs that are tax-efficient and also don't cap your upside so heavily. And new ETFs are now using a variety of strategies to achieve this. And there is a unique ETF on the scene that has completely changed the way investors are able to generate income from their portfolios. Over the past year, it has gained significant momentum from both income and growth investors. But here's the twist. Unlike most high-income ETFs that I've discussed that rely on options to generate their dividend yield, this ETF doesn't use any options at all. Over the last year, 3 years, and 4 years, it has not only crushed every other high-income ETF on the S&P 500, like SPYI and GPIX, but it has managed to keep up with the index itself, only underperforming by a slight margin. And the best part is that it's structured in a very tax-efficient manner. But most importantly, it is consistently tax efficient, which is something many high-income ETFs cannot say. So you're crossing off both the growth cap problem and the tax efficiency problem. So what is this ETF? I'm going to break it down in detail, walk through the pros and cons, and explore whether it has the potential to be a core holding for long-term income and growth investors. And this brings me to QDPL, which is the Pacer Meta-Eurus US Large Cap Dividend Multiplier 400 ETF. So before we continue, let's briefly run through the fundamentals of the ETF so that you can get a better understanding of the fund before we move forward. QDPL was established in July of 2021, so it is relatively new, but despite its recent inception date, the fund has already been able to accumulate just about $1 billion of assets under management. Over the past year, the fund's AUM growth has picked up significantly, now tracking closely with one of the most prominent covered call ETFs, SPYI. In fact, it has doubled its assets in just the last 12 months. As of now, the fund offers a dividend yield of around 6%. That said, in both 2023 and 2024, the yield actually exceeded 7%, so it does fluctuate depending on market conditions. Even so, a 6% yield is still a very attractive figure, especially for investors looking to benefit from both growth and income. And right away, this tells me that the fund experiences significantly more capital appreciation compared to other high-income ETFs like SPYI. When you look at its price return, which excludes its dividend distribution, you can clearly see how much more the fund is able to appreciate in value. When you look at its total returns, which includes the dividend distributions, you see that the fund significantly outperforms, returning around 74%, about 5% behind the S&P 500. Now, when you look at the fund's holding breakdown, you see that it holds all the same stocks within the S&P 500, but you see no option contracts in its holdings at all. So how is it able to generate such a high yield? Now, before we break that down, I do think this ETF serves a very specific purpose, and that is for growth and income investors who want S&P 500-like exposure, but with the added benefit of cash flow. But remember, at the end of the day, it is still following the index. The real long-term edge comes from what you build around it, like momentum strategies, sector rotation, or thematic plays, and that's precisely why I use thematic portfolios. On ProPix.ai, the large cap tech titans portfolio could be a very powerful complement. It has seen returns of over 62% in the last year and 230% over the last 5 years. And there's also the mid-cap portfolio, which has seen returns of over 51% in the last year. These portfolios target specific segments of the market that many retail investors ignore, but Investing Pro's quality screeners may help identify opportunities while managing risk exposure. Of course, past performance does not guarantee future results. Right now, they are running a flash sale where you can get up to a 55% discount. And if you use my link in the description, you can stack an extra 15% off on top of that. The sale ends in less than 24 hours, so if you've been considering it, now is the time to lock in the lowest price available before it's gone. When you look at the fund's description, it states that it aims to deliver a 400% distribution over the S&P 500's dividend yield, using a mix of treasury bonds and something called dividend futures. In simple terms, the fund's objective is to provide 4 times the yield of the S&P 500 in exchange for slightly reduced participation in price appreciation. So if the S&P 500 is yielding around 1.5%, this fund would target a yield closer to 6%. So now, what are dividend futures? I know it sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple. You see, dividend futures are contracts that let you speculate the expected dividend payments of an index, like the S&P 500. To put it simply, you are not betting on the price of the S&P 500. Instead, you are betting on how much total dividend income the index will pay over a specific period. For example, let's say the S&P 500 is expected to distribute $65 per share in total dividends for the year. That is the market's estimate. But you can actually speculate on whether that number will be higher or lower. If you're bullish and expecting the S&P 500 to pay more than $65 per share, you can take a long position. And if the actual dividend turns out to be, say, $68 per share, then your long position profits. And that profit is what helps amplify this fund's yield. Now, to quadruple the S&P 500's dividend yield, say from 1.5% to 6%, the fund likely buys 4 dividend futures contracts to mirror that 4x exposure. And this strategy is how the fund delivers a high yield without relying on covered calls or traditional income plays. But there is another step to this strategy. You see, a portion of its assets is allocated towards treasury bonds, and this is something I really like. These treasuries currently offer a relatively high yield of around 4%, which also helps boost the ETF's total dividend payout. And further down the list, you'll see 3 S&P 500 dividend futures contracts. So instead of buying 4 futures contracts to get that 4x yield exposure, the fund likely only needs to buy 3, with the remaining yield enhancement coming from the interest income generated by these short-term treasury holdings. It's a smart structure to combine stable government-backed income with strategic yield amplification through dividend futures. When you look at the fund's strategy chart, you see everything broken down in detail. The vast majority of the fund's assets are allocated to the S&P 500. About 88% of the portfolio is invested directly in S&P 500 stocks. It's the remaining 12% that is allocated to dividend futures and treasury bonds. And they specifically state that they do not use leverage or put any price caps on their underlying assets. And it's this high equity exposure that allows the fund to deliver returns nearly in line with the S&P 500. But that small allocation to alternative assets not only boosts the dividend yield, it also helps reduce overall volatility. And looking at the fund's beta value, it comes in at 0.87, which is lower than the market. That said, its beta value is slightly higher than a fund like SPYI, which currently has a beta of 0.77. However, that makes sense because this fund captures more upside growth and in exchange it showcases more volatility. So with QDPL, you are essentially getting an alternative way to invest in the S&P 500, but with slightly lower volatility and the opportunity to earn a relatively strong dividend yield that sometimes reaches up to 7%. For balanced investors seeking both income and growth, or for those beginning to transition into income-focused strategies, QDPL could be a powerful addition to the portfolio. One attractive feature of the fund is its potential for consistent dividend growth, since its distributions are tied to the S&P 500, which is an index that's delivered 15 consecutive years of dividend increases. And high-income funds don't typically have consistent dividend growth, given that their yield fluctuates depending on the amount of income they collect through their option strategies. And in the fund's prospectus, it states that its dividend growth has historically outpaced the rate of inflation. Of course, if we were to see a particularly difficult year and a wave of dividend cuts across the S&P 500, that could definitely impact QDPL's payouts. But so far, the fund has posted a 24% dividend growth rate over the last 12 months. Now, let's talk about dividends and taxes. It's very important for high-income ETFs to be structured in a tax-efficient way, and the most popular method is return of capital, meaning your dividends are tax deferred and you only pay taxes once you sell the fund or your adjusted cost basis reaches zero. Luckily, QDPL's dividends are 85 to 90% return of capital, and that ratio has been very consistent, which is something many high-income ETFs can't say. In 2026 alone, only a small portion of its distributions were classified as ordinary income, with the rest classified as return of capital, and the same goes for all of 2025. One very important thing to note is that the 19A1 form most investors use as a reference for dividend classification isn't accurate and can fluctuate a lot, but Pacer's fund managers have consistently delivered that 85 to 90% return of capital, which is fantastic for investors. However, the fund is not perfect, and I do have a few issues with it. First, its expense ratio is very high, sitting at 0.6%. And although that is in line with other high-income ETFs, given that the fund's yield is only at around 6%, you are giving up 10% of that at the end of the day. That is a lot more relative to the 0.6% expense ratio of SPYI that yields you over 12%. But remember, at the end of the day, the total returns you see here on the chart already includes the expense ratio. And lastly, the fund is not really helping to cushion downside volatility with the added dividend yield. I mean, when you look at its performance during the bear market of 2022, it did manage to cushion the downside of the S&P 500, but only by around 2 to 3%. So it's not really a risk management instrument, it is only there to boost your income. But when you look at it overall, you're cushioning your downside by a little bit and you're missing out a little bit on the upside. So the trade-off is justified. Now, given that a large chunk of the fund is allocated towards short-term treasuries, once we do see interest rate cuts, the yield on these assets will drop as well. So that might put some downward pressure on the fund's dividend yield. However, the fund managers would likely purchase more futures contracts to compensate for the drop in yield. But overall, it's really interesting to see a high-income fund that does not use any options to generate its dividend yield. Investors could definitely use this as a core holding instead of the S&P 500, strictly to boost their portfolio's dividends. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. Discussions of ETFs, investing strategies, market updates, or specific funds are general, not tailored to your financial situation, and should not be relied upon for decision making. Investing involves significant risks, including total loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results. I am not a registered financial advisor. My content reflects personal research and publicly available information. I may earn affiliate commissions from mentioned products or links disclosed per FTC guidelines, but these do not influence my opinions. Always consult a licensed financial professional and verify information independently. By watching this, you agree I am not liable for any losses or consequences from your actions. International viewers should consult